So thanks, Tyler. Should I talk it this year? Yeah. Okay. So look, I really appreciate you guys coming out today. It takes more than a little bit of snow to stop tunnelers, is that right? Right. Webs can stay at home. So look, I'm going to talk about tunnels in BC, and the filter here, I've got three filters on this. One is that it's only civil tunnels, so nothing to do with mining. The second filter is that it's going to do one. The start date is 1881, right? And that date is because that's when the CP rail construction started. So before that, the economy was a bit of logging, a bit of fishing, a bit of placer mining. So there may be tunnels before that, but the serious tunnels started in 1881. CP rail finished their construction in 1885. 5 years, just took the transcontinental railway across. These days, of course, we'd still be talking about the impact statements, but they got things done in those days. So this is one of the CP rail tunnels. It's in the Fraser Canyon, 142 years old now. It's one of 53 tunnels that CP rail has in BC. That tunnel does not have a stick of support in it. It's as it was in 1881, except they've trimmed out the roof in a couple of places because they're now running triple-deck car carriers and double-stack containers, and they need a little bit of clearance up top. Otherwise, that tunnel was as it was in 1881. So, a very remarkable situation that we've got here, thanks to good rock. So this list of BC tunnels. So I'll start with railways. CP's got 53 tunnels in BC. They've got 8 on the Coquihalla, but that was abandoned in about the 60s, although you can still see the Coquihalla tunnels, the Othello tunnels near Hope. CN probably has about 30, and BC Rail, before they were bought out by CN, they have a bunch of tunnels. They have a Coquihalla tunnel in Lonsdale. It's quite a long tunnel which bypasses the Horseshoe Bay ferry terminal, and they have the Tumber Ridge tunnels up northern BC for the coalfields. So I've got about 102 tunnels in the railway. Highways, we've got Trans-Canada, the Fraser Canyon, Fraser River Tube. Apparently Parks Canada has got a couple of tunnels. So I've said about 10 highway tunnels. Hydropower, tons and tons of tunnels. So BC Hydro, there's apparently 76 dams in the province. Each one of them has 1 or 2 diversion tunnels. We've got all the IPPs, the independent power producers, a lot of those have got tunnels. We've got Commando up at Kitimat. Fortis has got a bunch of tunnels in the Kootenays. So I said about 120. Water tunnels, starting 100 years ago. GVRD was driving tunnels up in the watershed near the lines. There's a bunch of tunnels up there. The Cap Seymour Twin Tunnel, Victoria, the Kipore Tunnel in Victoria is another tunnel. So I've said about 10 tunnels, but there's probably more. Sewer tunnels, the major sewer tunnel is the 8th Avenue Ivory collector tunnel, which runs down to the Iona treatment plant. About 8 tunnels there. Transit, we have Dunsmuir Street, just down here, Evergreen Line, Broadway, the airport tunnels. We have Fisheries tunnels. DFO, there's tunnels. Up at Hell's Gate, and also the Fulton River. We have pipelines now, a whole bunch of them. We've just been 2023, there were a bunch of pipeline tunnels done. Fiber's coming up. Canada Post has a tunnel, right? And in the one threaded one to Fuka, we have Ripple Rock and the tunnel of Bone Island, private tunnel of Bone Island. So I just had that's 260 tunnels, which to me blew me away. And just this evening, some guy tells me there's another tunnel I missed. So, so it's got to be updated. But this is a good start. And And here's sort of the scope of the tunnels. We have the longest tunnel in the Western Hemisphere, which is the Macdonald tunnel in the Rogers Pass with CP Rail. And we have this private tunnel, Finisterre Island, which is connected to Bone Island. And there's a house here and a little tunnel which goes up to the house. At high tide, that tunnel is underwater, so you're a bit restricted about when you can go to your house. And that sold, this whole island sold for $3.5 million last year. So if you want your own island and your own house and your own tunnel, you've got $3.5 million, you can buy it, get yourself a little place in Australia on the Fuga. So just the construction, drill and blast, of course, most of the tunnel drill and blast. We have the hard rock. It's only when we get down to the mainland we get these softer sediments. But of course, the key to this in doing drill and blast was dynamite. So nitroglycerin was developed in 1847. Very unstable, explosive, dangerous material. A lot of bad accidents before Alfred Nobel got into the act. And the first thing he developed was a blasting cap, so you didn't have to light a fuse, and hopefully you had the right length and you ran away. And then he had a blasting cap. And then he stabilized the nitroglycerin clay, and now you had a stable explosive that you can put in drill holes. And then I'm sure you guys have heard that if you pick up a stick of explosive and it's got all this moisture on the outside, that is nitroglycerin coming out of the clay. So be very careful. So dynamite was the key to it. Now, I still don't know if I believe this photograph, but this was taken in 1898. So this is the highway from Skagway up to Whitehorse. It's the Whitehorse and Yukon route. And back in those days, this was the highest technology for drilling holes. Right? Two-man jack, one guy hold the rod, two guys had hammers. Every time you hit it, you turn the rod, the drill steel a little bit, and you drive a hole. I don't know how they cleaned out the hole, and I don't know how this guy was selected to hold the rod. Let's see, maybe they took turns, because that guy isn't wearing his gloves, and one miss, and he's in big trouble. Those are big hammers, I guess they were pretty hard. And then this was a mucking equipment, right? Wheelbarrows. 1898. Yeah, it just blows me right. And so these days, now you have a twin boot jumbo, nice soundproof cab, all automated, you just turn it on, it drills all the holes. And interesting to tell those guys how to do it. But these guys, they drilled 53 tunnels on the CP rail with that technology. Amazing. So drill and blast, road headers. So we do a little bit of road header downtown here. We've got the soft tertiaries. This is actually the road header working in the Barrage station just here, and seemed to work pretty well. He has some other places where the road header, some of this sandstone is sort of calcite cemented, and the road header is just bounced right off it. So it's not a universal way of doing things, but pretty handy. Compressed air, we'll talk about the hybrid sewer tunnel. Again, before the days of MPDs with pressure balance machines, all that was done with compressed air. Frozen ground, the Macdonald ventilation shaft, they used frozen ground to get through their overburden. TBMs, of course, we've got this SkyTrain tunnels, cap single water tunnels. TBMs seem to work pretty well in the hard rock here. Earth pressure belts, second Narrows water tunnel, I believe, was done recently with earth pressure balance machine. Sunken tube, Dees Island highway tunnel, out south of the airport. We've got one of those. We're going to have another one apparently. They're going to replace that with a sunken tube rather than a bridge. We've got lake taps. I'll talk about the Tyson Lake hydroelectric project. Cut and cover. We've got Cassiar connector and a couple of others. Ventilation is important there. And I'm not going to talk about micro tunnels or direction, but all the tunnels in these are human entry tunnels. Okay, so here, this is Kamloops Lake looking east. Kamloops is in the background there, the Kamloops Airport is just here. And these are 4 of the 6 tunnels along Kamloops Lake for CP rail. So you see there fairly short tunnels. Again, these are tunnels which have been there for 140 years or so. Not a stick of support in them, no problems at all, and they're just doing fine. So between Kamloops and Hope, there are 28 tunnels. So there are 260 kilometers between Kamloops and Hope, and it's 1 tunnel every 9 kilometers on this route. All drill blast, all unsupported, all 140 years been around there and doing fine. No one really has to do any work in those tunnels at all. So it's pretty good. So the big problem with the CP rail has been in this area coming down from Banff into Revelstoke. So they've had, this is the Rogers Pass, a lot of problems with grade, and since they opened the railway in 1885, they've spent another 100 years getting the grade sorted out. So they put in the spiral tunnel, they'll talk about that, 2 spiral tunnels, Macdonald tunnel, the Shortington tunnel, the Macdonald tunnel. Macdonald was opened in 1988, so CP started in 85, 88, spent 100 years trying to get the grades on that section of the track down from 4% to 2%. And they've spent billions of dollars reducing the grade by 2%. And it makes a huge, huge difference. And before, when they had 4%, they would have to push every single train. They would push locomotives behind the train and push them up the hill. Push them over, let it come down, they got to then out the next one. So they did that for decades, just to try and sort out what now they've got in the Macdonald tunnel. So the grade reduction, I said, took about 100 years. They can get it up to what the difference between 4% and 2% when you're running these massive, heavy-duty coal trains, container trains. It makes a huge difference if they can do 2%. So let's just talk about spiral tunnels. They opened in 1909, and this is Lake Louise. This is Revelstoke here, and this is what they call the Big Hill. So they had a 4 and 5% grade up here. And so they put in this spiral tunnel arrangement. So first of all, you had the lower spiral, so you're coming this way, you come in here, you climb up here, that's the lower spiral, you come into the upper spiral, and then you come back into Lake Louise. So that's the lower spiral, here's the upper spiral, and this is the eastbound train. So the eastbound train is going from Revelstoke up to Lake Louise, and this is a single train, 89-car train, and here's the loco. The loco came in this portal here. It went into the loop down here, and it came out here, this portal. And you can see then that this is, you go underneath the loco going into the tunnel. And this works great, and it's been there now for over 100 years. Quite interesting walking through that tunnel. It's all limestone, so bedded limestone. As you walk around, you can't really tell you're changing direction, and then the geology keeps on changing around you. And you have planar failures, weight failures, and it's pretty confusing. But I just want to one page with the surveying here. So you think about surveying this in 1900, right? So now you've got a grade in the tunnel, and you can see here that these are not nice circles, right? So the radius of these curvatures, these tunnels continuously changing. So some smart guy with a slide rule with log tables, he gave the direction of every cut. Come through here, And he did a pretty good job, eh? Ended up in the right place, got the grade down, and they'll say, you know, we have to have total stations, and we all confused. These guys did a good job. So, so after that's 1909, which is the spiral tunnels, and then 1916, the Macdonald tunnel. So that was the next big tunneling project. So this here is the east portal of the Macdonald tunnel. So I'm just thinking, you know, you're on your way to work, dark, snowy morning, and there's your portal, your work site, and you're going under that whole freaking mountain. Hey, is that scary or what? So that's the east portal. This is the west portal. Originally it was two tracks, but then as the cars get higher and you have double stack containers, they made it single track, and so that tunnel is working fine. But you just have to think a little bit of how they did it in those days. So what they wanted to do was have high productivity. They put in a side drift at both ends. So they put some side drifts in, and then they did cross cuts, and they developed pilot drifts inside the main tunnel. And they did this in a number of places. So they could open up 10 faces working simultaneously. And then they could work in two directions. And they drilled all these radial holes here from the pilot drift. And this is the guys that did it. So by 1916, they had percussion drills, and this was the state-of-the-art then with a bar and R. So they drill these radial holes from here, and they drill them out like this. And you see these guys, they look a little stressed, don't they? You know, probably because the working conditions were absolutely terrible. You know, double headings, dusty, hot, noisy. But maybe it's just because the mines inspector had told them to put their hard hats on. Hard hats, they need that for. But anyway, so they did this, and then they put in a lining here, a freestanding concrete lining, and that looks like this. So as you imagine, these radial holes have a lot of overbreak, or you can have a lot of control over the length of the holes. So you can now, if you're very stupid, you can climb in to this cavity above the line. And at one time it seemed to have been filled with timber. Anyway, back in the 80s, this was the first inspection in 70 years in here. And the last, I'm sure, because it was the sketchiest trip I've ever done. This rock, you know, look at this, that was all, that was all, yeah. A lot of rockfall, there was no ventilation, but I was just told they did an inspection this time inside the tunnel. No one else has gone back outside since then, and the tunnel's doing fine. But I think one day there's going to be a big rockfall here, it's going to crash through the lining, and someone's going to have to go and fix it up. But that's how it was done. So now moving on to the Macdonald tunnel, and this was opened in 1988, and we said about 100 years after the railroad started, and now they've got everything down to 2%, and they can run 40, 50 trains a day quite easily. So interestingly, when they did this tunnel, there was a fellow called John Fox, who was a chief engineer, a very rough, tough guy who was pretty hard to deal with. And so what he did was he divided the tunnel contracted into three sections. And so he awarded the two outside thirds to different contractors, and then whoever did the first, finish their section first would get the middle. So and Kuma guy got one right. They did full blast, full phase drill and blast. They lined it as they went, you know, keep it simple, stupid, and they did it right. Another group had a big fancy system. they use a TBM to drive the top heading, and then they drill and blast the bench, and then they did the lining. Well, they were 3 years behind. And one of the reasons was they lost the main bearing in the TBM. And the only way they could get it out was they had a tunnel up above the TBM, come down, and extract the main bearing, and replace it. And meanwhile, the main coon guy was just blasting every day. So that was pretty interesting. So yeah, 14.6, longest tunnel in the Western Hemisphere. Doesn't match the things in the Alps and the Indian Hand, but it's a pretty interesting tunnel and works pretty well. So the main feature of this tunnel is the ventilation system. So what they have is they have a shaft in the middle of the tunnel, and it's got a dividing wall down the middle, and it has a gate here. So they want to be able to run 40 trains a day through here. So they want to be able to have 2 trains in the tunnel simultaneously. And so here's a train coming into the tunnel. The gate is closed, they'll pump air down here, suck it out here, and so this train is in fresh air the whole way. When it gets to the middle, the gate opens, it goes through the other side, and there's airflow, they're pushing air up here. So now we have air being sucked all the way through the tunnel. The tunnel's in clean air. It gets through the main part, the door closes, the gate closes, they then pump air down here, close this out of here. Air is sucked in this end, so the train's in fresh air, and then they can have the whole tunnel is free to have another train go. So this way they can put 2 trains in this tunnel at the same time, or within the in fresh air. And that CPRL has just announced that they're going to do a big upgrade on this tunnel, on the whole ventilation system. It'll take about 10 years. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're after 40 years, it needs improvement. But it seems to work pretty well. No one's crashing the gate, so obviously it works well. So let me just talk about the Coca-Cola, the fellow tunnels. So at one time, CP goes from Cambridge down here, particularly Vancouver. They had the Coca-Cola route here, which was a secondary route, and one of their places was the fellow tunnels. I know. Any of you guys been to the fellow tunnels? If you haven't, you should go. This is, if you're interested in tunnels, this is the most amazing place in the world. They have 5 tunnels on a tangent, tunnel bridge, tunnel bridge, tunnel bridge, and it's quite a sight. It's called McCulloch's Wonder. McCulloch was the chief engineer, and he was a great aficionado of Shakespeare, and so all the stations through the Coca-Cola are named after Shakespearean characters. So Othello was one of the tunnels, and so it's well worth looking at that. Now, this is, they abandoned this route in about the 1960s, and for some reason we were doing that one day. So this is an abandoned tunnel, and that's what it looks like now. So it was originally supported with timber, like this. It's all collapsed, and so no one gets in there. But this is the technology of the time for tunnel support. So now you have these 10 by 10 timbers, and they have big names of 2 posts. Then you have 2 jack beams and 2 queen beams and a king beam up here. And these are very precisely cut, so that there's good contact there. And you can just see here there are little shear keys at each joint. So these all fitted together. And this only worked, of course, if there was blocking at every one of these places. So the whole thing is kept tight. So in the 1990s, there was a highway tunnel in Oregon, which was supported with these beams like this. And there was a lot of water which leaked into the tunnels, so they put up a sort of umbrella of metal, trying to direct the water to the side, and they had this metal was coming loose, so some poor guy went up on a scissor lift, tapped his hammer, and the whole thing collapsed on top of it. And then they didn't see it because of the cover there. So that's when we found out about this kind of support, and this is not very robust. Once you start losing the blocking, you get eccentric loading on here, it's got no support at all. So I think this is actually in the third tunnel. This is somewhere north of there. And obviously no one's going to use that for the tunnel. So let's talk about highway tunnels now. So Fraser Canyon has a few tunnels. We've got two main tunnels built in this one. This is Sailor Bar Tunnel, built in 1958, so it's been around the time. And I don't know if you've driven through here, but it's a pretty narrow tunnel, and you have a logging truck coming in the opposite direction, and it's a little sort of knuckles there as you hang on. I hope he's going to give you room to get by. So this is a pretty marginal tunnel for these days, because this is a modern highway tunnel. This is actually the Yellow Slide Tunnel in California. And I just sort of superimpose that tunnel on here. All right, so these guys, they have sidewalks and shoulders and vent tubes up here, and a very different beast. And that's this is a 21-meter span tunnel. And but just looking at the jet fans here for regulating this. So if you just look at the Cassiar tunnel, there's jet fans in there. All right? So they don't work very much probably because we have piston effect, we have unidirectional travel in each bore, and so but they turn on if they need to. And another thing which I don't know if you guys are aware, I'm interested in how many people are aware of this, but there are cross passages. So if you're stuck in this side and you want to get across to something safer, there are doors up here. Right? So it's sort of important to know because maybe there's an accident, there's smoke, there's fire, you want to get the hell out of there, and you want to know where that door is. So if you're in Switzerland, they have these quite little signposts. So next time you drive through Cassiar and see if you can see these doors. I bet you won't. They're all kind of covered in muck and all that. And you need to know where it is. Now, in Japan, what they do is they have little signs. They say, 10 meters to the tunnel, 20 meters to the tunnel, 30 meters to the tunnel. So if you're sort of feeling your way along the wall and it's smoky, and you might find that it's better to go 10 meters towards the fire because that's where the closest door is, rather than trying to run and find it, maybe miss it, and all that. So these cross passages should be way better marked than they are. Anyone seen the cross passages in Cassiar? Yeah. Very good. So that's highway tunnel. Now, this tunnel is just down here, right, under the street. It's the old sinking tunnel built in 1931, which took trains from further east from here and brought them down on the waterfront. So in 1981, this tunnel was taken over by East Transit, and it became the Duncan tunnel. So this is the original tunnel here. See the tracks here, and about 2 meters was excavated out of the invert, and the new invert was constructed here, put in the two traffics. So if you go to the end of the station in the upper deck, and you look along there, you still see the original lining, 1931 lining. There's smoke from all the locos in there. Nothing was done to that at all. The only thing we did was we put in some rock faults here, so when we excavated this, we wouldn't lose that line, and that worked fine. And nothing was done to this line until it's unreinforced, until the earthquake comes along, and then it will collapse. Inside, we've got ourselves a nice cheap tunnel. And it's quite interesting. If you don't really notice, you know, when you're in broad station, it's vertical alignment, and when you get down the waterfront, it's horizontal alignment. And it's sort of pretty, you never really notice it's happened, do you? So that's the SkyTrain tunnel. It's a hydroelectric project, so I have tons and tons of those. This is Revelstoke Dam. And so what I said is of every one of these 76 dams in the province, at least one or two diversion tunnels get the water away so they can do the foundations of the dam. And so this is Revelstoke. They don't have the power tunnels here because the power station is right in the structure there. And of course, what they do have in Revelstoke is a lot of tunneling for the downslide drainage tunnels. So there's 3.3 kilometers of tunnels in here. This is the outline of the downward slide. I think it's sometimes the biggest tunnel, biggest slide in the world. Is that right?
Not quite.
There's
one in
New Zealand, yeah. Yeah. So they're welcome to it, is that right? So a lot of tunnels here, and then Dutchman's Ridge, I think they have the same situation up there. Okay, so after the Violent disaster in Italy, of course, people were very aware that you shouldn't flood the toe of big landslides. So this is, they monitor this all the time. And they're absolutely essential to have all these adits in the Great North River. So there are these the big dams like Piper and Revelstoke, where it's high volume lower head. This is 2,480 megawatts. But there are also a ton of tunnels around which are high head, low volume. So this is the cheapest project, and I'm sure all of you, you go up to Whistler and you see this tunnel and this dam, and you say, oh yeah, that's cool. But why is it there? All right? The reason it's there is that there's a power tunnel which goes from the David Lake Dam down onto the Squamish River, and there's a power station there. And so that tunnel is 11 kilometers long. The head is 370 meters, and that tunnel, I think, is working fine. There are a bunch of other ones like this. You know, this Bridge River, it's quite a big project, and Bunsen Lake, this up here in North Deep Cove. There's Wyllie, which is near Hope. Wyllie had a big landslide that cut through the power tunnel and the shaft about 25 years ago now, and they had to redo the whole thing, put the shaft back into the mountain to put it in stable ground. So there are a lot of these tunnels around in Hydro. Let's talk about the Tyson Creek project. This is a lake tap. So this is a view, first of all, the downstream portal of the tunnel. It's about 1.5 kilometers long. And this is the upstream portal in this lake. And we had to tap into this lake and feed this. So here's a plan of this. There's a lake tap, there's a tunnel line coming down here, downstream portal, and this is how the lake tap is done. You guys be involved in lake taps, it's pretty rare, but we hired some guy from Norway. It's a good thing because we had no idea what we were doing. And he got it straightened out and it worked very well. So this, first of all, we got a UAV and we put it in the lake because we wanted to get a nice clean rock face and then stable rock face. We didn't want to put our lake tap into the mud, so we'd be sucking all the lake sediments out through through the turbines. So we found a good space, good spot here, and then we put in a system like this. So this is a tunnel pipe constructed here, a big pipe through it. This is a valve, and then we drive the tunnel up here. This is the lake tap. We have a rock trap here, another rock trap here, and we had some diamond drill holes to the surface. This is so that we could run the lead wires from the blast up to the surface. So, excuse me. So this is a sort of arrangement you have here. We're going to do a blast here. We want to contain all the rock here, and you don't want the shock wave from the blast coming and destroying your tunnel pipe. So this is filled with water so that it will absorb the shock, and this is what the arrangement looks like right at the top here. So you want to do a lot of support, because the moment you blast this tunnel plug, you can never get back in, right? So you're done. So you can't go and fix the tunnel later. So a lot of bolts and spirals here. This is a trash rack. This is the water which filled the tunnel down to the plug. And you want all this rock there to be injected into this thing. So what you do is, when you take all your gear up there, all your drilling gear, your explosives through the tunnel plug here, you take it all up there, you drill your holes, you load the holes, and then you bring everything back, you put this plug in place, and then you can blast, and let's say once you blast it, you can never get back to it. So here is loading the final run. So we have 80 holes and a 3.5 meter square face. I'm going to shoot it heavy, but not too heavy, so it stays stable. So then all the lead wires go up down the drill hole, and you shoot it, and maybe later you can put your UAV back and see what the port looks like underwater. That works fine. The Norwegians are very good at this. They taught us how to do it in goodness, and it worked well. So now water supply. Ton of tunnels done by the water. Metro Vancouver and the water. Said 100 years ago they were driving tunnels up in the watershed. First Narrows tunnel is a bit like this. So this is the cap along the river sediments. Right? A lot of sand and gravel gets washed down the cap along the river, and they have a shaft here. There's a 40-meter deep case on it, which is driven down through the gravel until it gets to rock. This is a break line here. This is a south shaft, which is in Stanley Park. This is a diagram of the caisson. So they have cutting edges here. And they just sink this down through the boulders. Probably some guys are there sort of shoving out the boulders into the bucket, and gradually it sinks down until they can seal that into the big one. Now, I understand that Metro Vancouver is starting this year about a 5-year project, because one of the issues is that in Stanley Park, the pipe is sort of on the surface. It's a wood stake pipe, and they're going to put a shaft down, and they're going to, I think what they're going to do is connect this tunnel to a new tunnel, so everything will be much deeper, much better for earthquakes. Anyone know about that? Someone must probably be working on it. Have I got that about right? All right. All right. Yeah, if I'm saying anything which is totally wrong, just correct me, because a lot of the stuff I don't know. Anyway, so that, I guess they feel that the existing tunnels are right. And they're going to pipes with the tunnels up. Okay. So there's a caisson, very important part of getting down through there. Now the 8th Avenue Highbury Street sewer tunnel, which is another big deal. So this is 8th Avenue, and this is Highbury Street. So there's a major tunnel, sewer tunnel, which goes out to the Iona treatment plant. And this is very difficult. It's all in sediments, water-bearing sediments, not deep enough to get into the sandstone. And the original mapping I found Victor Darwin's original map in the Vancouver City Archives. Very interesting. It's the only place it is. And these are the sediments. So you've got till, sands, and gravels. Underneath that, you've got glacial sand and silt. So underneath that, you've got the tertiary sandstone, but the tunnel is actually in these glacial materials here. And tons of water came in. And these days, we just do it with a visual balance machine. But in the 1930s, it was done like this: compressed air. So there were ways to get into the tunnel at each end, and they used steel sets and timber spining to be able to do this safely. So that's worked fine. Highbury's been there a long time. I don't know if anyone's ever inspected it. It's a sewer tunnel, so you don't really want to get in there too much. But someone should be inspecting it to make sure it's okay. Any volunteers? Fisheries and oceans, all right? So now DFO is in tunnels. So up on the Fulton River, there's a dam and a big system of channels for hatchery channels. And there's a massive lake here called Babine Lake, and they have this dam to feed the water into the fish channels. Once again, the way up here they have some other fish channels there. But just at the mouth of the tunnel, mouth of the river, there's a basalt flow which forms a waterfall, and the salmon can't get up there. And so every summer, they put a big camp there in helicopters, and they pick up great buckets of fish, and they lift them over this waterfall, so that the fish can breed up there. There's an enormous, huge area of fish breeding there, but they just need to get over this little waterfall right at the mouth of the river. And I think the Americans pay for half of all this operation, because, of course, a lot of these salmon go up into the Gulf of Alaska. So I was up there because the plan was to blast a channel through this waterfall. But anyway, 10 years of study and 15 years of worrying about things, and it just we usually have the contacts. So maybe it's done now. In those days, that was what they were doing. So, but Hell's Gate fish channels are also a very big deal. So this is an aerial view of Hell's Gate, and this is on the west side. CP Rail has good terrain through here. This is CN on this side, and the Fraser River is flowing from left to right here. So when CN were doing their construction, they generated a huge landslide that went into the river. And for about 30 or 40 years, no one noticed this, right? And the salmon couldn't get past through. And so it was really a huge effect on the salmon here. And so in the 40s, they built a bunch of fish channels. So this is the channels, they got weird sort of baffles in them, so it slows it down. and the fish can get up here. So there's a channel here, and there's channels here, and what happened is some sort of fluke of flow there that used to flush this gravel into one of these tunnels, and it blocked the passage of the tunnels. And so what we did was we drove a tunnel underneath the existing fish channel here, and so that this water here would sort of act as a hose to flush up the gravel. Now, they wanted to do a big model of this, a three-dimensional model, and so they went to Northwest Hydraulics and asked them how much it cost to do a complete model of the Hell's Gate. And they said, oh, $10 million or so. So they looked at the cost of the tunnel, and they said, well, we'll do the tunnel, and we'll put a gate, a front gate. If it doesn't work, we'll close the gate. We're cheaper. Suddenly. So anyway, this tunnel was driven underneath here. It was pretty successful. Had to be done in a very short window in the winter when you could. This was in the dry. You know, by March the water's coming up, so we had about a 2-month window, maybe a 2.5-month window to dry this tunnel. And that's working fine as far as I know. So that's that. So just going back, here's the Duncan tunnel. And back in, say, the late 50s, early 60s, they had a bright idea of building the main post office downtown, on Duncan Street, right? Because they were going to take all the mail from the post office and they were going to put it in a tunnel, and it was going to go down to the waterfront station here and be put on trains to take it across Eastern Canada. So after a couple of years, someone said, oh, maybe we can put it on a plane. So for the next 30 or 40 years, every mail truck has to come downtown, sorted, and then the mail trucks are going to be open. So more recently, if you go to the airport now, you'll see the huge sorting facility there. And the post office is now, I think there's ECIT or something there. They have some college there, I think. This is the downtown post office tunnel. Was there for a long time. They did movies in it, and some very scary place. And I think they might have filled it in up there. It had a conveyor in it, and it was going to be used for many years. It had about operational life of about 2 years. Anyway, so I started off with a tunnel, which is 142 years old. This is a little baby tunnel, it's 4 months old, just finished in July, in about October. This is for the pipeline, so it goes through this bluff here, and it took about 18 months to make this all safe till we get to the borders. And now, hopefully in a couple of months, we'll have oil flowing through there. And there have been a bunch of other tunnels done for the pipeline. Valley, there was another tunnel done in 1990, which has been rehabbed for this. And so this is where we are at the moment. So thanks a lot. So if you have any questions, and did I make any huge mistakes here? Probably a bunch of you people know more about some of these tunnels than I do. How was I? Did I do it right?